Chapter 16. For days after the exchange in the Wayne Library, Bruce and Dick alternated watches over Arkham and Blackgate, with the command that anyone left on the streets contact them if anything got too dangerous. It wasn't eventful monitoring, but Batman wanted to be at the ready to repel an attack by the Seraphim as soon as possible. Tim, Stephanie, and Cassandra stuck together for most of the wait. Trouble was minimal. A bank robbery by Two-Face averted proved the most interesting moment they experienced, and even that just felt typical. "Maybe we didn't interpret it right," Dick said. "It was a good idea, but we've been back and forth between the nut house and the prison all week, and I still haven't seen anything." "I'm not taking my eyes off them," Bruce said. "Not yet." The month of October was quickly coming to an end. Cassandra knew her most important lesson with Stephanie was fast approaching. She knew there was something else she wanted to address first. It began with a knock on Tim's door as it sat open, and he laid on his bed, flipping through some case files from Bruce. "Tim?" He jumped a little before he turned toward her. "Sorry! Still not used to seeing you there." "Yeah, what's up?" "We still going to that thing you said? The adoring? The adoration?" "Yeah, if you still want to go," he said. "What will we do again?" "You just sit down or take a knee, either way, and pray about what's on your mind toward the host, as if God's there. Because in this branch of the faith, he is." "Easy for you, but I never prayed," Cassandra said. "Shouldn't I know before I go?" Tim was quiet for a moment, looked back and forth between her and the files he was going over, before he set them aside. "Yeah, I suppose you should." He pushed up from the bed, snatched up 2 pillows, and laid them on the floor. "Now's as good a time as any, I guess. Come on in. Follow my lead." Cassandra entered and mimicked Tim as he set his knees on one pillow and straightened. "This is your basic kneel. When we go, you'll probably do this at least a little, but you don't have to do it much." Then he clasped his hands. His fingers overlapped one another. "And this is your cross hand. Usually take it when you're praying." "Why?" "I knew you were going to ask me that." "I have no idea," Tim said. "Anyway, some people look down and close their eyes when they do it. I do know that one. It helps keep you from looking around and being distracted. After that, you just kind of say what you need to say. In your mind. It's like meditating," Cassandra said. "In a lot of ways, yeah. But when you meditate, you're usually looking to be completely alone with yourself. Here it's trying to be completely alone with God." In an effort to utilize what he was saying, Cassandra knelt, leaned forward, rested her elbows on the bed with her fingers folded together, and began to think on what he told her to do. She shut her eyes, tried to forget Tim was there at all, and focused on the task at hand. But she still wasn't sure how to overcome the barrier of not knowing how, or even what, to speak in this way. "God? Are you there? I have only been learning about you for the last few weeks, but maybe I've been looking for you forever. Someone like you, maybe, without knowing you were there. If Stephanie and Monsignor Ryan are right, you made me. And you love me. You made me because even before I was born, you loved me. Hope that's there. Want it to be true. My mother didn't have me because she loved me. My father didn't raise me because he loved me. Even Bruce. Know he loves me, but can't shake what I saw. What I've done." "Cassie? Cass, are you okay?" Cassandra opened her eyes and looked toward Tim. She only realized her eyes were wet with tears as she did. "You all right? I think you might have been trying a little too hard there." She wiped her eyes. "Think about these things every day, but I never talk about them." "What is it you're talking about? I mean, if you want to tell me." He added the last words quickly. "My childhood, my father. That I'm still not used to being loved." She clenched a fist. He didn't say anything back. He never does. Not with words, at least, Tim said. Cassandra looked surprised and upset by this statement. "What's the point, then?" she said. "Why talk if you're not talked back to?" "Like I said, it isn't with words," Tim said. "Spoke to Moses and Elijah, why not me?" Tim looked down, bothered he hadn't thought to address this before. I don't know. God doesn't like words. He likes actions and feelings. That's what my mom told me. "So I just talk?" Sadness tinged her words. Isn't what I was expecting. How do I know I'm heard? If you believe in God, then you believe you're being heard. At least when this is the God we're talking about. The look of confusion on Cassandra's face only made him want to curse himself more for not better explaining this sooner. I know you must be upset by that. I thought sometime I'd know for sure. So no one, not even Monsignor Ryan, really knows for sure? He struggled to come up with an answer swiftly enough that she wouldn't question his ability to teach her, but he also had to make sense of everything else she'd been through. If you ask any, well, almost any Christian out there to prove what they believe, they'll give you some vague answer along the lines of, the universe had to come from somewhere. The world is too beautiful to be an accident. Or, I feel he answers me when I pray. Though again, with that last one, the answers aren't with words. She appeared perhaps a little better, but still confused and unsure of what he was saying. Tim asked, Do you know anything about Father Ryan? The stuff of his family from before he became a priest and a Monsignor? Cassandra shook her head. Before his parents crossed this country, they were members of the Irish mob. If Cassandra looked surprised before, now she was dumbstruck. You might want to get off your knees and sit down. It's kind of a long story. She obeyed quickly. I don't know how much of it is true or how much isn't, particularly in the crime department. But Father Ryan used to talk about it with us back in confirmation class. Our parents had to sign permission slips and everything, but he didn't want to sugarcoat too much of it. He wanted us to know where he came from and how he found his true calling. They were like the mob men in the streets? Cassandra asked. Just like 'em. You don't see much of the Irish mob around Gotham. Falcone wiped a lot of them out before Batman started patrolling the streets, and he handled most of the rest. They're rough people, Cass. I really don't know if you need me to tell you that. Father Ryan was born in Midway City and was always going to be a priest. His father lost a lot of money screwing up in the drug trade, owed his boss way more than he could ever afford to pay. So he struck a deal. Stephanie probably hasn't talked about this with you, but Catholics believe that priests have a very strong connection with God, and that if you confess your sins to them, God will act through the priest and forgive your sins. Naturally, a superstitious gang of Catholic-descended mobsters had a lot of reasons to worry about their souls, so, according to Father Ryan, every few decades they'd raise one of their own to be a priest, so they could easily wash away their sins and escape fear of divine retribution. That's horrible. Cassandra felt disgusted. Yeah, you know why a lot of people don't trust Catholics? They think they can just make whatever trouble they want and have it all taken away in a single conversation with a priest. And as I think this demonstrates, plenty of Catholics believe that too. I can tell you, Cass, it isn't about owning your sin. It's about owning it and making sure you don't do it again. So Father Ryan was set up to be a priest from day one. His parents really didn't care. He had 5 other brothers anyway. Their family name would go on without any real trouble, and it was a small price to pay to make the debt go away. Sometimes he used to go out with his brothers on minor jobs, but was never allowed to do anything heavy. They didn't want to lose him. He didn't tell us exactly what they were doing, obviously, but I think he was sure we knew enough about the mob and its trappings that we could fill in the blanks ourselves. About halfway through seminary, that's priesthood school, so you know, it really struck him that his family was trying to use him for evil. In seminary, he told us he experienced firsthand the way organized crime ripped people and families apart. He saw the homeless people his family had extorted, the competition they were murdering, everything. And the thought he was simply going to forgive those kinds of people so they could turn around and do it again clashed with everything he'd come to know about God and the Son he sent to redeem humanity. Raised to be an evil tool. But then used for good? Sounds a lot like you when you put it that way, doesn't it? Tim showed her a little smile. Through it all, he told us there was never a question about whether or not God was real. It was a question of if he was looking at God the right way. So, still in seminary, still trying to make sense of the destiny his parents made for him, he decided to look at God on his own terms. Eventually, that meant leaving Midway City altogether and hiding out in Gotham, where, like I said, between Falcone and Batman, the Irish mob had nearly disappeared. A few years later, they just about disappeared out there, too. Tim chuckled. I've never known how he got the honor of becoming a Monsignor, but I've always suspected he ended up helping a lot of those men behind bars and strived to undo their damage. Knew he was brave and good, Cassandra said. This just says more. He never had a choice about becoming a priest, but he did choose what kind of priest he became, and that was something between him and God. Maybe there was never a word-to-word conversation, but there were feelings and there was a connection. That's what he told us. After this story, the two sat in silence, pondering the gravity of the Monsignor's tale and decisions before Cassandra asked, "You still believe in God, don't you, Tim?" "I've tried my best to be ambivalent, but it just isn't for me," he sighed. "Yeah, I still believe in God. Jesus, too. I can't go back to the way I used to be. I can't go back to thinking I understand why God does what he does, let happen what he lets happen, and all that stuff. But I can't really deny that I feel better about the world thinking someone's out there looking over me. And God's about all I have left of my mom. God, religion, Catholicism doesn't always make sense to me, but it usually does. So I better stick to it. Has any of this made sense to you? We really got off track. Do you feel any better?" "Yes," she said. "Want to try again. But you have work to do. I'll try alone." "You come back if you need me, then." Tim picked up his files again. "Hang in there, Cassie. Sooner or later it'll make sense, one way or another. I promise. Thank you." She checked her eyes to make sure she wasn't still crying without realizing it. Then she nodded to him, allowed herself to go back to her bedroom, and tried again.